skills that you need when talking about expressions. One of those skills is translating, and the other one is evaluating. When we look at translating expressions, we need to know what specific words mean. We have the operation addition, but we can use other words instead of the word addition. For example, we can use the word sum, which also means addition, more than, increased by, total, plus, and all together. All of these words mean we need to add. Just like with addition, we have words that mean subtraction. For example, if you have the word difference, this means to subtract, or the word less than. The word decreased by, subtracted from, and minus. All of these mean we're going to subtract. Multiplication also has several synonyms, such as times, product, twice, double, or triple, the word of, and the word per. All of these mean multiplication. And then division has a few. So instead of division, we can use the word or phrase divided by, quotient, half or thirds, and separate. So it's very important to learn all of these synonyms for these operations because you'll want to use them when translating phrases and expressions. Now there's some important ones that you want to watch out for. We call these turnaround phrases. So for example, phrases like less than. This is a turnaround phrase because it has the word than. Also, a turnaround phrase would be subtracted from. This is going to be a turnaround phrase because you have the word from in that phrase. So what this means is you're going to reverse the order of your operation. Let's take a look at a few examples. Number 1, 18 less than a number. So your word or phrase here that tells you the operation is less than. And for this example, we're tempted to write 18 minus x. But since this is a turnaround phrase, we want to write it the opposite way. X minus 18. Because we have a number, we don't actually know the number, we use that variable x. Number 2, the product of a number and 6. So this one tells us that we're multiplying because you have the word product. And we're multiplying a number and then the number 6. So a number is our variable, x. So the way we write this would be 6x. Because 6 times x. Triple a number. So triple means to multiply, but more specifically, to multiply by 3. And then again, a number is translated as my variable x. So triple a number is 3x. A number increased by 9. Your key word or phrase here is increased. Again, the phrase a number can be translated as your variable and then increased by 9. So x plus, because increased is plus, 9. Number 5, the quotient of a number of 20 and a number. So my key word or phrase here is quotient. So that means I'm going to be dividing 20 and a number. And again, a number translates as your variable, x. So when we write this, it would be 20 divided by, because of the word quotient, x. Go ahead and highlight numbers 6 through 16. Now, you can go the other direction, and if you're given an expression, you can write the phrase. So you can see here we have the expression -12 plus n. So we know that we're adding, so that's the sum of the two things we're adding are -12 and my variable. So remember, when we translated above, we said a variable was a number. Now remember, there are several ways you can translate these. So this is just one, because there's several words that we can use to represent addition. Number 18, we're going to translate the expression -2 divided by n. So when we think of all of the words that talk about divided by, quotient is one of those. So we could say the quotient of my two numbers I'm dividing are -2 and my variable, which is a number. Go ahead and highlight numbers 19 through 24. And let's take a look at that second skill of evaluating expressions. So when we evaluate an expression, that means first what an algebraic expression is. It's an expression that contains one or more variables. And what it means to evaluate means that we need to substitute the variables with their given values and then follow order of operations to solve it. So remember, expressions, you have operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. You have your variables, and you have constants and coefficients. So when you're evaluating an expression, you're being told what those variables represent. We know that variables represent an unknown number, but when we evaluate an expression, that unknown value is given to us. So first we want to start with number 1 and evaluate 7x minus 2y. And again, in order to evaluate this, I need to know what x and y equal. So over here, I'm told that x equals 4 and y equals 3. So we're going to replace or substitute x and y with those values. So I'm going to rewrite my expression, but instead of x, I'm going to replace it with 4. And when I replace it, I'm going to put that 4, or that value I'm replacing, in parentheses. So 7, and then in parentheses 4, minus 2, and then in parentheses 3, because we're told that value of y is 3. Now that I've substituted, I can use order of operations to solve it. And according to order of operations, I need to multiply first. So I'm going to multiply 7 times 4, which is 28, minus 2 times 3, which is 6. And then 28 minus 6 is 22. So we substituted in the given values and then used order of operations to solve it and evaluate this expression. The next expression I'm going to evaluate is a squared plus 2b. And I know that a equals 4 and I know that b equals 5. So I'm going to start by substituting those values into the expression. Again, when you substitute it in, you want to put that value in parentheses. So instead of a, I'm going to have 4 in parentheses squared plus 2, and then in parentheses 5, because instead of b, we have 5. Now, it's very important here you're following order of operations, which says I need to do my exponent first. So I need to do 4 squared first. 4 squared is 16, because 4 times 4 is 16, plus 2 times 5. I'm going to do my multiplication next. 2 times 5 is 10. So 16 plus 10. And 16 plus 10 is 26. And remember, in order to evaluate an expression, you have to be told what those variables equal, the value of those variables. Go ahead and highlight number 3 through 8. And then on your next page, I want you to highlight number 9, 11, 12, and 14, 15, and 16. I want to take a look at numbers 10 and 13 with you. So number 10 wants you to evaluate the expression 4xy divided by 2x. And we know that x equals 3 and y equals negative 9. So we start by replacing our variables with those values. So 4, parentheses 3. Remember, each time we replace a value, we put it in parentheses. So we replaced x with 3, and now we're going to replace y with negative 9. And that's over 2, and then in parentheses 3. Now remember, when we have a quotient like this, we always want to simplify our numerator and denominator first, and then divide last. So when I take a look at my numerator, I see the only operation I have is multiplication. So 4 times 3 times negative 9. 4 times 3 is 12. And then you can bring over your negative 9. Bring over your 2 times 3, because we're not working in our denominator yet. And then 12 times negative 9 is negative 108. And bring over your 2 times 3. So now that our denominator is simplified to negative 108, we can then multiply our numerator. 2 times 3, which is 6. And then once the numerator and denominator are simplified, you can divide. Negative 8 divided by negative 6. So remember, a negative divided by a positive is a negative. And then 108 divided by 6 is 18. So we get a final answer of negative 18. Now, a lot of the math in that problem, you may need to go over to the side of your paper and work out that multiplication and division, since you will not have a calculator. Now, let's take a look at number 13. We're going to evaluate the expression 8x squared y divided by 4x. And I know for this one that x equals 2 and y equals negative 3. So we're going to start by substituting or replacing those variables with those values. So we have 8 parentheses 2 squared, because I know that x is 2, parentheses negative 3, because I know y is negative 3, over 4 in parentheses 2, because I know x is 2. So we're going to start by simplifying our numerator. Now in our numerator we have two operations. We have multiplication and we have an exponent. But according to order of operations, we want to do that exponent first. So we have 8 in parentheses 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4, and then negative 3. And then we're going to bring over our denominator. Then in our numerator we can start multiplying. 8 times 4 is 32. Bring over your negative 3 and bring over your denominator. And then 32 times negative 3 is negative 96. And then bring over your denominator. And now that our numerator is simplified to negative 96, we can multiply our denominator. 4 times 2 is 8. And then once our numerator and denominator are simplified, we divide that out. remembering that a negative divided by a positive is a negative, and then 96 divided by 8 is 12. So this problem simplified is negative 12. Go ahead and complete all of the highlighted problems from this video, and remember that you should not be using a calculator, but you may use the side of your paper or a scratch sheet of paper.